topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Who is January Jones? She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a terrific day. I'm January Jones, and I'd like to welcome you to our podcast today. As you can see, I'm wearing my glitter hat, my glitter cane. I'm getting ready to promote my new brand, Glitter Granny Gifts, as an associate affiliate selling at Amazon.com. We'll be selling everything that glitters and glows to give and get. Soon we'll be launching our website, and I'll tell you about it more when it gets closer. Now, for my listeners, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the golden age of television? Oh, yeah, I think we all do. Did you have your own favorite show, the one you really loved watching? Well, one of my favorite shows was I Love Lucy. How about you? And I think pretty much everyone loved Lucy then and now still. Have you ever met someone who was right there during the making of I Love Lucy? He was there during the golden age. Can you imagine what that would have been like? Tell me, have you ever heard about an incredible book entitled The Lucy Book? Now, this book is called The Bible by Lucy fans all over the world. If you can answer yes or maybe to any of my questions, then you are in the right place. And welcome to January Jones Sharing Senior Success. So now it's time to rest, relax, go get some wine, get some cheese and crackers, and join us in the no wine zone. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Critics have called this guest a walking encyclopedia of show business history. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised all over the country, and has spent his entire life in one part of show business or the other. He has appeared off Broadway and in summer stock. He's been a singer and a stand-up comedian. He is the proud recipient of an Emmy Award and also of a Grammy Award nomination. He also writes and produces documentaries and reality shows. He is the author of The Lucy Book, which I said is the Bible for all Lucy fans. I'd like to welcome you today to my show, Geoffrey Mark. Hi, Geoffrey.
Well, this guy sounds brilliant. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. That's number one. And number two is I'll be your first customer because all I wear are things that sparkle. So.
Oh, good. Wonderful. Well, I'll have to get you back on the show when I really get into the glitter and start promoting. I'm going to be the glitter granny. So you're going to be my new glitter guy.
I can be a glitter pappy, if that's okay.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I'll have you back once we get that launched. This is so exciting to have you on the show. I know you've been in show business in that whole thing for many, many years.
50 years.
Yeah. Oh, 50 years. Wow. I've been married to my husband 54 years. So that's why this show is called Senior Success.
You betcha.
Yeah, we cater to seniors, especially those that want to glitter and glow just like us, for sure.
The heavenly choir is going, ah.
Uh, okay, Geoffrey, let's start back with born in Brooklyn. Share a little bit about your background, who your early mentors were, who inspired you, and tell us about your journey.
Good heavens. Well, I consider myself, first of all, to be the luckiest son of a gun on the planet.
Good.
I was born at a time in New York City where, to fill up the hours of television every day, they were showing really old movies and very, very old television shows that were already old when I was a kid. So if you were a baby boomer kid in New York, you knew who Al Jolson was and Fanny Brice and Eddie Cantor. You knew the singers your grandparents liked. You knew the singers your parents liked. And you could see the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, especially in my house, because the man who brought him to the Bernstein was my cousin. So it's very big in my house. To get that encyclopedic knowledge of show business, I couldn't have been in a better place. I stepped on a stage for the first time when I was 4.
Oh, wow.
And I sang Dites-moi from South Pacific. They drew a mustache on me with eyebrow pencil and put a beret on me and pushed me out. And there I was. And it was like, oh, this is the most natural thing in the world to do.
Oh,
that's how it felt. And I did amateur stuff until I hit 15. And then at 15, I went professional.
Really? That's pretty young.
Well, again, you ask about my background, and I'm trying to make light of things that are kind of serious, actually. My parents were both mentally ill, and my childhood was not terribly happy.
Yes.
And my father freaked out one day, and I called a girlfriend of mine. And I said, I'm afraid he's going to hurt me. She said, grab a piece of sheet music and meet me downstairs in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And I think we were halfway to Washington, D.C. before she said to me, oh, by the way, you're going to an audition today for a dinner theater.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I sang My Darling, I've wanted to call you my darling from Where's Charlie?
Oh, yes.
And I got the part. They didn't care that I didn't have a picture or a resume or that I'd never done anything professionally before. I got a speaking part, playing an adult.
Oh, gosh.
And that was 15 and a half. At 16, I made my first movie with Peter Fonda. At 17, I was starring off Broadway in a musical. 18, I was working at the Playboy Club. And, here we are.
Wow. Listen, starting off that young, obviously you didn't have an agent and you were just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and with the help of a wonderful friend. Was that a time when you had to have a SAG card, or were there rules, or what are the restrictions?
Oh, sure. The rules haven't changed through the years.
Oh, really?
If you want to be a professional, if you want to work on the stage, you have to belong to Actors Equity.
Okay.
And that happened for me. How old was I? 17, maybe. And if you want to work on television or in films, you have to belong to what's now called SAG-AFTRA. They used to be 2 different unions.
Wow.
Look, there is the enormous fun. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a jazz singer. I'm a theater person. All the different hats I wear.
Got it.
And we can tell you about how all the glitter came to me, because it was somebody else's idea, not mine.
Oh, really?
But to do all of the things you do, besides the fun, there is incredible hard work and luck and the responsibility of being a professional.
Okay.
The glitter, I don't really wear glitter. I wear sequins.
Okay.
But the sparkly stuff was Rip Taylor's idea. Remember Rip Taylor, the wonderful comedian?
Oh, yes, for sure. I loved him. Yeah.
I loved him too. We were very, very close friends.
Oh,
Rip came to see me perform in Los Angeles decades ago.
uh-huh.
And he said, Jeff, I want to talk to you. Let's go out to dinner. And we went to a then very famous show business hangout called Hamburger Hamlet
Oh, yeah.
on Sunset Boulevard. And if you ate there, there was a special celebrity room, and it was
Mhm.
like a party. You everybody knew everybody, and you could just have a ball there. Another
Mhm.
departed place I wish was still here.
Yeah.
But he sat me down and we ordered, and he said, Jeff, oh, by the way, language on this show, am I allowed to use language or do I have to use euphemisms?
Oh, you can use any language you want.
Okay. He
Fine.
said, Jeff, you are magic on stage, but you're dressed like a fucking accountant. And you can hear that coming out of Rip's mouth.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's him.
And he sent me shopping.
Oh,
And I ended up with one hat. I was going on a cruise for the first time as a performer.
uh-huh.
And the audience went wild for it. I couldn't not have it on my head. They were so happy with it. The next cruise was 3 hats. The next cruise was 6 hats and a vest. I now have an entire huge closet.
Oh, my God.
Sequin jackets, sequin vests, sequin shirts, sequin hats, sequin shoes, and the jewelry to go with it.
To die for.
And it gave me a brand, which is really important if you want to be in big time show business.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
guy. Oh, he's that guy who kind of looks like Elton John and wears all the stuff. That is my career went zoomy up in the air.
Oh, my gosh.
And,
This is incredible because right now, as I said earlier, I'm in the process of launching a brand, and I've become obsessed with, all things glitter, like you.
well, I think I should be your spokesperson. We'll
I
talk about that off camera.
We will definitely. And when I invited you on the show, I wasn't really aware of your glitter glamour history. And for me to have a glitter guy on my show is just perfect.
Yeah, I want that water bottle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, to die for. Listen, we're going to take a break. And this is for people who whine, or if you know someone who's a whiner.
Too many people.
Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment that reached #1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shalt Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor with her book being published in Korea and China. You can find Thou Shalt Not Whine at Amazon.com.
Welcome back with my perfect glamorous guest.
Now I must tell you a story because of the commercial you just put up.
Okay.
In the did you know? Now, by the way, I'm Jewish, just in case anyone, because you'll understand why I'm saying this in a moment.
Okay.
Did you know in the around 1965, they took a poll.
Okay.
And do you know what the favorite Jewish wine was?
I only know Manischewitz. That's the only wine I know.
Oh, the favorite Jewish wine in 1965 was, I want to go to Miami.
Of course. Well, yeah, and a lot of
I don't want letters, kids. I'm Jewish. That's a joke. Don't.
No,
But
no. No, my listeners are too mature to get upset about jokes like that. They love those kind of jokes. Those are my favorite. Yes, Jewish women they are known for whining, but and as a matter of fact, most women have the
you know what?
gift.
I think most people whine, whether you do it to your spouse or your best friend, or you're one of those people who does it all the time. I try so hard not to be that way because it's negative energy that does no one any good at all.
Mhm.
One of the success things is not feeling that way. It's finding the good and the positive. And well, I've had a bad day, but these good things did happen, and I've got tomorrow to do more good things. And how fabulous do I look, by the way?
Definitely.
Sometimes I have to say that to myself. It's like, no, there's no constant badness. It
Mhm.
comes and it goes, and I sway with it, and I remain with a smile on my face.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's funny. When I think back on it, I wrote that book 30 years ago. So I've been preaching the no whining mantra for a long time.
Since you were a teenager.
Yes, yes, for sure. And it's a message that I think we need to hear more now than ever. I think that there's more going on in the world that our people are negative and depressed about. And so I feel that this book is as relevant as when I wrote it, actually more so than 30 years ago. So
It is part of, you're talking about senior success. I think one of the hallmarks of senior success is not whining and not feeling sorry for yourself and accepting that as we age, things change.
Mhm.
And you know what? That's okay. It's okay for things to change. And if you acknowledge the changes,
Mhm.
I was a dancer, a professional dancer when I was young. I was a model when I was young.
Mhm.
Well, no one's asking me to take my shirt off anymore to model.
Okay.
And, I haven't worn my tap shoes in quite a while.
Mhm.
Things change. On the other hand, I became a star, and I wasn't that when I was very young. So
Uh-huh.
good things and bad things, I'm in Palm Springs with the lovely weather. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, this gorgeous office I have, how wonderful to create things here and do my radio show, plug. Geoffrey Mark Plays Ella, where every week I choose a theme of Ella's music and tell you the insider stories of how it was made. This
Oh,
particular week, it's Ella and Louis Armstrong, their
oh,
music that they made together.
oh,
So,
that, oh,
life
I'm
is good.
so glad to hear you have a podcast too. Isn't this a fun
And
thing?
a radio show, both.
Okay, I do too. Isn't this a fun thing to do?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love to perform.
Mhm.
I am one of those people. I open the refrigerator, and because the spotlight hits me, I start singing a song.
Mhm.
I'm not so crazy about the business part of the business sometimes,
Yeah.
but performing, anytime I get to be on a stage, hold a microphone in my hand, like this
Yeah.
one here, uh,
Mhm.
I'm happy and fulfilled, and my soul feels good. And when I finish, I say I'm the luckiest. Because if I were to give you the names of all the famous people who have helped me through the years,
Oh, yeah.
you wouldn't have time in a half an hour to even just listen to the names.
Oh,
But
we're going to be on longer than a half hour, by the
okay,
way.
I'm with you as long as you want me for. Uh, but
Okay.
Lucille Ball, Milton Berle, Steve Allen, Jack Carter,
All the
Peter Marshall,
yeah.
Louis Nye, Lucy Arnaz, uh, Rita Lee, on and on and on and on and on. Ella Fitzgerald herself,
Sure.
Mary
Well,
Parkin.
like you, I love what I'm doing, and I especially love sharing senior stories from someone like you and myself. And I think when seniors share their stories, there's so much to learn. And there's such a great way to encourage other seniors and younger people too. It's the more we share and try to make this world positive with less whining, I feel it's a great contribution.
So
You know,
one evening, which it goes right to what you're saying. One evening, I found myself in a Broadway theater backstage in Mary Martin's dressing room. And she allowed me to sit at her feet for 2 hours and ask questions while she served tea and cookies to me.
Oh, how sweet.
And the best advice I got, she said, as you get older, one tends to repeat the same things over and over again or live on one's laurels. She said, don't do that.
Yeah.
She and Ethel Merman were very close friends, but Merman spent the last 15 years of her life pretty much singing the same songs, telling the same stories over and over and over again. She said, don't do that, Geoffrey. Don't think if you have successes or hit songs that you need to constantly remind people. She said, always try for something new. Plug into something new creatively, and you will always stay young.
Yeah,
advice.
That's what keeps you relevant. Let's talk about Lucy now.
Sure.
This wonderful book, the Bible.
Thank you.
How long ago did you write it? And I'm always curious as an author, how long did it take you to put this book together?
I didn't know it, but I started writing this book when I was about 2 years old.
Really?
Well, I'm a strange guy, if you haven't figured that out already.
I love it.
Hopefully strange in a nice way.
Of course.
But I would watch the reruns of Lucy.
Yeah.
First run, I Love Lucy. The only one I saw was the very last of the hour-long specials with Ernie Kovacs and his wife. That I saw live. I mean, meaning in the moment, not a rerun of. But I Love Lucy, the half-hour version, I never saw those. I was too young. So I'd watch them in reruns. And I began to notice, oh, look, her hair is, that's the same dress she was. Oh, wait a minute. That looks like they had to redo that little. I don't know why my little 2-year-old brain focused on this stuff, but it did. So I did research just for my own amusement or amazement about first Miss Ball and then all of classic television. In the 80s, Miss Ball came to New York to what's now called the Paley Center to do a symposium, questions and answers. And I got to ask a question. First of all, I made Lucille Ball laugh, which is like my happiest day. She couldn't, the lights were in her eyes. She really couldn't see the audience very well. Her husband, Gary Morton, was sitting on the edge of the stage. And she said, yeah, that young man out there with the red beard. And Gary said, Lucy, if there's nobody in the audience with a red beard. Yes, Gary, there he is, right there. And they handed me the microphone. I said, well, Miss Ball, there's not much left on top, but there is plenty of red beard. And she just howled.
Great.
I said to her, your friend Jack Benny, that got her attention. Your friend Jack Benny said, the reason people tune into sitcoms traditionally, the lead character or characters do shtick, not every single week and not just one, several, and they come in looking to see which one is going to be used this week. I said, you gave up 2 of your biggest ones. You gave up the crying Jag when you Ricky. Yeah. And you gave up, now I used the word because she knew what it meant, the spider. The spider is when she went, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, do you why did you give those up? And she kind of looked at me like this. And she said, young man, that is the best question ever asked about my comedy to me. And she spent the next 20 minutes answering questions for me. Happily, wow. I had a buddy with me who took shorthand, took down every word she said. And when she finished, she said, you ought to write a book. And that's where the germ of really writing a book hit me. Well, the first book I wrote was about Ella Fitzgerald, and it was a bestseller. And people were clamoring for me to write a second book. Well, why not Lucy? So I interviewed everybody who was still alive who had ever worked with her on television, because the book is just about her television career, early live TV till she died. And show by show by show, who was there, who wrote it, who produced it, a synopsis of what was going on, and then insider stories about how that particular thing, whether it was a commercial or a variety show or her own show, a special, a commercial, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Allen wrote the forward for me for that.
Oh,
for free.
Oh, yeah.
And Milton Berle wrote a blurb for the back cover for free.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And I will announce that the new Lucy book is coming out next year with even more interviews. And I'm adding in her films and her radio so that her career will be between two covers. And Fran Drescher has already written a wonderful forward for that book.
Oh, that'll.
I am very grateful to Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Their children, Lucy Arnaz and Desi Jr., have been wonderful friends to me, and hopefully I to they. And Lucy fans all over the world know me, and it's a lovely, lovely combination of a passion, my talent, and I filled a need because there are plenty of books written about Miss Ball and Mr. Arnaz about their so-called personal lives. Yeah. And I'm saying it like this because I know who all the authors are. I know them personally. I'm not rapping any one of them in particular, but a lot of what was written turned out to not really be true. And there was nothing written about her actual work.
Real professional.
So hooray for me.
I'm a little bit older than you, darling, but I was there for the original shows. And I can remember to this day, our world literally stopped when little Ricky was born. That was just like, for my world, it was the most exciting thing I had ever seen on television. And
it was one of a kind. Because there was this thing. Now, remind yourselves, folks, I Love Lucy started in 1951. Television didn't really start till 1948. So this is really early in television's life.
It was, yeah.
But
we all had little tiny boxes at home.
So there was this thing about nothing naughty, nothing sexual.
Nothing.
Well, Lucille Ball becomes pregnant, and they're trying to decide, well, how do we hide her?
Yeah.
And instead, Jess Oppenheimer said, we're not going to hide her. We're going to write it into the show. It was her second child. Lucy Arnaz had been born just like 6 weeks before the first episode of I Love Lucy was filmed.
Oh my God!
So she had two kids very close in age.
Yeah, that's cutting.
Miss Ball was 40 when the first child was born, or almost 40. So she wasn't a spring chicken.
Yeah.
And it just so happened she had to have a cesarean with Lucy Arnaz. So they were going to have, in those days, if you had a cesarean once, you had to have it for every child in those days.
Yes.
So they knew she would need a cesarean with Desi Jr., who eventually was the one who came out. And they could work it out that little Ricky could be born the same day that little Desi was born. And at
that time, did they know if it was going to be a boy?
Oh, no. They wrote it as a boy only because they had a girl at home. And this way, if it was another girl, they wouldn't be jealous. You know, they were thinking ahead of Lucy Arnaz's feelings.
Oh, okay.
So why aren't I on this show? Well, honey, it's a boy.
Yeah, so it was going to be a boy whether she had a girl.
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Right now we have to take a break.
Of course.
And, it's 60 years later and people are still asking who killed Kennedy.
Let me ask you a question. Are you still wondering who killed Kennedy? Over 50 years later, the assassination is still a mystery. It is unfinished business for our country. Now, get ready for a theory that you've never heard before, but will make more sense than any other conspiracy theory that you've ever heard in the past. January Jones speaks the unspeakable in her book, Jackie, Ari, and Jack, The Tragic Love Triangle, connecting Jackie and Aristotle Onassis romantically prior to JFK's assassination. Did you know that Ari was Jackie's guest in the White House during the JFK funeral? He was the only non-family member who was invited by Jackie to stay there during the funeral. Aristotle Onassis was one of the wealthiest men in the world, with the means, the motive, and the money to order an assassination that was the perfect crime of the last century. Ari needed class, and Jackie needed cash. They were perfect for each other. Now, what is Camelot? It is but another tragic love triangle. Jackie, Ari, and Jack is available at JanuaryJones.com, Amazon.com, and audiobooks.com, read by Ms. Jones.
Welcome back with Glitter Granny, visiting with Glitter Jeffrey. Perfect.
I must tell you, I knew Mrs. Onassis in New York. When I was first getting started in show business, I remember I said I was on the Playboy Club.
Yes.
And the man who produced the show was named Peter Jackson, not the film Peter Jackson, but a Parisian man who did topless variety shows, live variety shows, like they did in Paris. He did them in New York. And that's what I was working with at the Playboy Club. And one night, Peter decided he wanted to get something to eat with me. And we took the limo over to a very, in the moment, very au courant, this is the place to be seen. It was packed. And he saw friends. So we ended up sitting with Mrs. Onassis, Truman Capote, and Andy Warhol.
Oh, wow. Fun.
and I wish I had wonderful tittle tattle from that dinner, but Andy was on some other universe from whatever he was taking.
Yes.
Truman only wanted to talk to Peter about, how do I say this nicely, the genitalia of people they both knew, which left me to talk with Mrs. Onassis. Her hair was plain. Her makeup was very light. She was wearing a salmon-colored cowl-neck sweater with a suede, expensive but plain suede skirt and matching suede boots. And she had the class to actually pretend to be interested in my career, and that was the evening. That was the evening I had with her. But nothing of a table was of any kind of seriousness was spoken. But I just thought I'd add that on to your commercial for your wonderful book that I knew also.
Well, I haven't had too many guests on who can say that they've actually dined with Jackie. And that's very sweet of you to share that with us. Let's talk a little bit back on Lucy. Sure. She had 5 shows, 5 actual television series that you cover in your book. Of course, the one from 1951 to 57. The original I Love Lucy was the one I was just, 8 or 9 years old and watched with my family and everyone I knew. It changed our lives. Any stories from behind the scenes from that show that you could share with us that our listeners might not know?
Good heavens, there's 180 episodes altogether. There's probably 180 stories. Why don't you ask me something you've always wanted to know, and I'll answer it for you. That way you can be the voice for the public.
Well, the one show that my favorite, and I think we still see it all the time in reruns, was the incredible chocolate candy thing where she was in the factory with Ethel. How did she and Ethel really get along in real life? On screen, they were magic.
After a while, off screen, they were magic too. They were having trouble casting this show. Take a half a step backwards in time. Lucille Ball had a hit radio show called My Favorite Husband.
Okay.
And although the characters' names were different, it was the same relationships. Young wife who wants to be a matron in society is married to a good-looking young guy who thinks she's crazy. And then there's an older couple lighting matches under both of them to give them reasons to fight.
Okay.
Richard Denning played her husband. Gail Gordon played the Fred Mertz part.
Okay.
Bea Benaderet, who was the voice of Betty Rubble on the Flintstones and was Gracie Allen's best friend on the Burns and Allen show and the star of Petticoat Junction, played the Ethel Mertz part, although not called Ethel Mertz. CBS wanted to bring the show to television, and Miss Ball said, "I'll only do it if Desi can play my husband."
Oh, okay.
And CBS wanted no part of him because he was Latino. In their minds, he was of a different race, and
Oh,
they could not have a mixed race relationship on
mm,
CBS in 1951.
yeah.
So Miss Ball and Mr. Arnaz toured briefly. People think they toured for no, because she got pregnant. They toured briefly, and just in the few cities they could actually do the show,
Uh,
audiences responded so beautifully. Okay, CBS said, "All right, we get it. This will work fine."
mhm.
But they were having trouble getting Fred Mertz and getting Ethel Mertz. So I'll tell you how they found Ethel, because the original director of I Love Lucy was a man named Mark Daniels.
Okay.
And he knew Vivian Vance from Broadway, because
Mm,
Vivian had been Ethel Merman's understudy on Broadway and had started her own couple of musicals and shows on the stage. And she
mhm.
was appearing in San Diego, and everybody involved went down to see her. Desi hired her on the spot,
Oh,
but,
wow.
but didn't really tell Lucille about it. And of course, Jess Oppenheimer, the producer of the show,
Mhm,
had to
mhm.
also agree. First day, first read, first episode, Vivian is there early. Bill Frawley is already there
Uh-huh.
to show how dependable he is, because he had a
Yes.
drinking problem.
Mhm.
And Vivian pulls Desi aside and says, "Desi, who's the old coot?" And Desi said to her, "Honey, that's the man who's going to play your husband."
Okay.
She said, "Husband? He could play my grandfather." Well,
Oh,
Bill heard this
oh, yeah.
and never, ever forgave her for it.
Really?
But his anger towards her was written into the script.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Miss Ball shows up because she's the star. She comes last and walks over to Vivian. "Hi, who are you? What part are you here to read for?"
Mhm.
And Vivian said, "I'm not reading for anything. I've been hired to play Ethel Mertz." And Miss Ball said, "You can't play Ethel Mertz."
You're
Vivian said, "Why the hell not?" She said, "You're my age. You're pretty. You have a nice figure. Your hair color is the same as mine."
uh-huh.
And Vivian very wisely said to her, "Tell me, Miss Ball, what does Ethel Mertz look like?" And Miss Ball said, "Oh, she's older and dumpy and doesn't wear clothes well. And she bleaches her hair out, but there's always dark roots because she doesn't stay on top of it. And she's kind of a frump."
Uh-huh.
And Vivian said to her, "I can't give you that this week.
Mhm.
I can
Oh,
start giving it to you next week."
really?
And
Really?
what they did was she went all the way to Santa Barbara, California, to a hairstylist that she trusted
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
constantly, Ethel Mertz's hair is constantly changing colors to show that it's not consistent and she's not a glamour puss.
Okay.
The
Okay.
costumers, and she wore what makeup she needed to wear to be seen
Mhm.
on television. But in
Mhm.
the beginning, no false eyelashes, no glamour makeup.
Nothing.
Her
Yeah.
dresses were house dresses that were bought from Orbox.
Mhm.
They bought her dresses, her brassieres, her panties, her stockings, her shoes, one size too small, so that whatever weight she was at any moment, she looked like she was, like too much sausage in a casing.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
put her in wedgies so that she
Uh-huh.
clomped around. She didn't walk with grace like
Yeah.
Vivian Vance would do. And it worked. It defined the character.
Oh
And
gosh.
Vivian and Lucille did not see eye to eye in the beginning.
Mhm.
But as the show caught on, the quote is kind of misleading. The quote is, Vivian said to someone, "If this show gets any more successful, I'm going to have to learn to love that bitch."
Oh, that's a great one. I love that.
Well, they did learn to love each other.
They did.
And
Yeah.
Vivian and Lucille
Yeah.
really found out how good Vivian was at comedy and
Mhm.
stagecraft, and relied on her and leaned on her. And they became like sisters. And
Oh, that's
when she started the Lucy show in 1962, her one proviso was, it has to be with Vivian. I
oh,
can't do the show without her.
okay. Oh, that I love hearing that story, Jeff. Right now, we're going to hear about some priceless personalities who have been guests on this show, and they're seniors too. Have you ever met someone who was unforgettable? Someone who has touched your heart and soul? People who have faced difficult problems? People who have struggled to find solutions? People who fearlessly shared their stories? People who have not only informed you, but inspired you? People who have priceless personalities? I have been fortunate to host an internet radio talk show called January Jones Sharing Success Stories, and it has been my privilege to interview hundreds of guests. My guests have shared their stories, their struggles, their secrets, and their successes in their own words. In this book, we're talking about people dealing with problems such as incest, molestation, runaway kids, child abuse, drug abuse, polygamy, unemployment, scandal, and starting over. Then there are my guests dealing with difficult physical struggles such as blindness, cancer, and birth defects that are beyond traumatic. My guests have all been exciting, eclectic, and energizing. They have amazed, amused, and even astonished me. I have adored getting to meet them, and I adore sharing them with you.
Attention all listeners. Priceless Personalities, Success Stories Shared by January Jones, Volume 2 is now available at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle editions. You'll be able to meet 10 amazing people who will be sharing their own personal stories with all their struggles, successes, and solutions, sprinkled with lots of humor and hope. Priceless Personalities features a teenager who becomes one of the famous Supremes from Motown, a nurse who as a humorist helps people to heal, an inspiring laughter yoga instructor, a mother dealing with the loss of a child, an incredible motivational speaker, a woman who married 5 times, a gifted paranormal nurse, a wise economist, a funny female humorist, along with an older man sharing his sweet childhood in the Deep South. January's guests are all amazing and amusing. You will never forget meeting them. Go to Amazon.com for your own priceless experience.
All of my books are available at Audible, and also, just like Geoffrey's books, available at Amazon. And
I know some of the people you've interviewed. You got really good taste.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I hope I'm in volume 3.
Oh, for sure, because you're my official glitter guy. And your story is a wonderful story to share with seniors. And
you have no idea. Serious. We'll do a serious episode once without the glamour. I mean, I'll still wearing stuff, but my story, I think, will inspire our friends out there.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to do with this show. I've been doing this for a long time, and I just have, I love hearing other people's stories. And I love hearing not so much what you have to do to be successful, but I like hearing about the things that through their experience, they can tell you what not to do. Because that's the fun stuff to share, especially with our young listeners.
Well, you have me back, and I've got a lot to say about those subjects.
Good. I will have you back.
And folks, I'm not getting paid for this, and she didn't ask me. Get those books. They're wonderful. And get my books. They're also wonderful. Plugorama. Okay.
Okay, we've done it. All available at Amazon, where I will be an associate affiliate. When Lucy brought her children into her career, how did that go? Were the kids thrilled about it, or were they reluctant? And
it was a natural extension, I think, of their childhoods. They had appeared with Lucille and Gary Morton on Password a few times.
Oh, okay.
So they were, they were on the last episode of I Love Lucy. Desi Jr. and Keith Thibodeau, who played Little Ricky, used to entertain with a little band of their own in between setups. Yeah. So from the beginning, they were doing little things, and this was their life. This was their reality. Our parents owned Desilu Studios. It was the biggest movie studio in the world. In the world, folks. That's why Mr. Arnaz was so brilliant at what he did, because that was all Mr. Arnaz. So, the Desilu Studios was like a playground for them. They were there a lot. They were there in the audience, seeing shows being made. It was Miss Ball's idea that they join her for Here's Lucy. Both of them had appeared on, well, Lucy Arnaz had done a few little parts on the Lucy show. Desi Jr. had joined his father twice on The Mothers-in-Law, which Desi Arnaz produced and directed.
Okay.
Miss Ball felt that right in 1968, as the show was being filmed, literally was when Bobby Kennedy got assassinated and Martin Luther King got assassinated, and there was unrest in college campuses. And she felt, rightly or wrongly, because I'm not entirely sure it was a good idea for them, that she could bring her kids into the fold and protect them. Just have them there with her, and she could make sure that they would be okay. I don't know I don't know that she got what she wanted, but her desire is admirable as a parent. And it did launch 2 very, very successful careers, each of them, Arnaz is a Broadway star and a cabaret star, and Desi was a movie star and TV star and recording star. And I don't think it was a bad idea. The only thing, and I talk about this in my book, is that the people Miss Ball hired to be writers at that time didn't give the television family much of a backstory. If you watch the very first episode of Here's Lucy, and 6 seasons later you watch the last episode, after that first one, you didn't learn any more about the family after that than what they told you, except there was an episode. So in this show, Lucille Ball played Lucy Carter. Gail Gordon played her brother-in-law, Harry, and the kids were Kim and Craig. Well, Harry brings in, it turns out that Harry has a sister who's a sister. Isn't there lots of fun in that? Well, actually there was, because Mary Wicks played the nun.
Oh, okay.
And Lucille is meeting her for the first time. And of course, they had to use the line, "So what's like sister?" And it got a laugh. But take a step back in reality. Harry's her brother-in-law. That makes Harry Catholic if his sister is a nun.
Yeah, right.
The whole family is Catholic because Harry is her brother-in-law. But that makes the nun her brother or sister-in-law, who doesn't ask how the kids are. And the Lucy character reacts as if she's never met this person before. Was surprised that Harry had a sister who was a nun. How many wonderful, couldn't you just see some really cool priest who would drop by once a month just to see what crazy thing Lucy was doing that week? It would have been a nice ongoing piece. And why not have the family be Catholic? A little spice to the story. Well, I told that to both Lucy and Desi Jr. and they said, "Where the hell were you? You should have been in here helping us." I said, "Well, when that episode was being filmed, I was 12. Sorry. I'll try better. I'll try harder in the next life to get my jobs even earlier than I did."
Yeah.
But Here's Lucy was a funny show, but the kids were not well written for.
They didn't have backstory.
Lucy Arnaz and Desi Jr. really made their own ways on their own, developing their own talents. And if I would ever take a hat off in public, my hat would be off to them for what they've been able to accomplish. Yes, they had famous families and famous names, but when the camera starts rolling or the orchestra starts playing, you either got it or you ain't. Yeah. And boys, they got it.
They got it. No. We're going to be closing up shop right now. But
that's my one wine for the day. Okay.
Okay. It's so wonderful to have you and discover a glitter guy. And I'm so thrilled to be able to share you with all of our listeners. And our upcoming guests will be just like Mark, exciting and energizing. Next show, we're going to have Jim Hardy from the Bob Hope Channel is going to be visiting with us. So now
we'll have a lot of fun with him.
Oh, I'm looking forward to. Signing off from the Glitter Granny.
Signing off from the Glitter Pappy.
Thanks for entering the No Wine Zone with us today. Share our show with everyone you know. And remember, you need to stop whining, start smiling. And if that doesn't work, then you can start eating chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate.
I'm
Take
in.
care and stay safe. And thank you so much, Glitter Greg.
We want to thank you for listening to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Always remember Ms. Jones' personal mantra, if you can think it, you can do it. That's what all of our guests have done with their lives, and so can you. You are the ultimate success coach in your own life. All you need to do will be to start sharing your own story with your family and friends. We hope that our guest stories will encourage you to explore an equation in your future that will combine your creativity plus connecting with others will enable you to be successful too. Always remember, your passion plus your purpose will equal prosperity as you explore the wonderful world of January Jones.